Hello everyone, this is Thomas Merrick, and today I'm actually going to take a little bit of a break from the Let's Mega Meg, and mocking us is the gentleman who's taking over or taking control of the Against the Bot rules. He's the one that actually develops them and does the changelogs. Has made a change. He has upgraded the rules to the 2.3 rules, which I have here, and these are the patch notes here. And I just wanted to go over the rules with you here, just so you know kind of what's changed and what might change in the future with our series, if anything. To me, this is a lot like Patch Day. With I know a lot of us are gamers, and and when you're playing MMOs, you kind of look forward to some of the patch data. What's new? What new features do you have? And one important thing to know before I really delve into the Against the Bot rules here and the changes is Against the Bot is fully community driven. It's play tested a little bit, but it doesn't have a whole lot of play testing. And the rules are really designed to be modular. And you'll notice, like when I'm playing, I'll kind of shotgun a rule, or I'll change something. That's when you do these rules, when you play your own game, and even when with the guy, his name escapes me. I think it's Ralgith, is one of the guys that compile. Either him or Neo Agent. Both of them are developers that work on the MekHQ and MegaMek portions of the experimental builds. They're trying to make sure that the Firefox updates. No, they are trying to make sure that when you're using the Against the Bot rules, you have a lot of flexibility on what rules you use, and what options you have, and it's very much supposed to be modular. So, kind of as we're going through, these rules are guidelines. They have been play tested a little bit. They've been, there's been an attempt at balance, and I really like having the new rules here with me. But just kind of keep that in mind, both for your own game and also when me doing my games here for you guys, that these rules are always subject to change. Honestly, there's like one rule in here where he's talking about the fatigue rules and how they're optional. To me, every single one of these categories has an optional on it. So, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's go ahead and just take a peek at what has all changed. Now, there's a lot of discussion on the experience gain rates, especially for like administrators. They don't really do much, so therefore they never really get XP, so you can't really get good ones, other than just straight up hiring them. Now, the rules here have changed just slightly. There isn't a huge change. Really, this goes into... here we are. Experience advancement. Just basically, there's a few additional ways to get experience for admins. Honestly, logistic admin... Oh, wait. Let me get this centered so you can see it a little bit better. Sorry about that. I don't really have a representation when I'm recording with the software as to what my window is. I just kind of have to eyeball it. And right now I eyeballed it to being basically centered on the mark symbol there. So down here, most of this is stuff we already had. Most skilled. So basically they added these 4 options here. You get 2 XP for the most skilled admin on the 4 main functions for each new contract. So first off, every time you start a new contract, the best people are going to get 2 XP, which is pretty nice. Command admins are going to start getting a +1. This is really dependent on, did you roll really well in the contract? And if you did, basically these guys are going to get bonuses. One thing I'm not seeing here, and is HR, but HR, honestly, when you're doing your recruitment roles, it's played against your HR guy. So I'm kind of thinking like when you do that you get XP, but it's not part of the rules. It's not really our focus here. It's just something I was kind of thinking about as I was reading these rules over last night. Now these rules, I don't think there's a way to automate these rules currently in the experimental builds, but as I said, the experimental build basically follows what Machinas puts together here. So, and that's another reason why it's kind of interesting to see these rules, because these rules are going to reflect in the experimental builds, these patch notes, as they say. let's go ahead and move on to the next one. It's a nice little change, but it's not really something that excites me all that much. Uh, oh yeah, this is pretty interesting. New acquisition and delivery rates for parts, and also the new maintenance rules. Basically, this is stuff that was added into. Well, the acquisition stuff has always been there, at least as far as since I've been playing. But the maintenance rules, that's something that they recently changed as well, and we've been kind of dealing with. Let me see if I can find that really quick. In the campaign system, I think it's up here in here. Yeah. All right. So basically, let's go down to the parts acquisition. Basically, this is just a rule on how often you can check, and pretty much the way I have it set is far more punishing than what he is recommending. Again, you can always do what you want to do, and then for the Let's Mega Mech with the FWLM, I'm probably going to stay with what we have. But for when I actually go and get started back on the Stingray thing, I probably will go ahead and use these rules. And the way the default rules are going to read here is part acquisition you can try twice a day. It's set to administration. That's something I always did anyway. 2 rolls can be made per cycle. Waiting period. So if you fail, you can try again the next day. That's something I usually set to like 3 days or 7 days or something like that. Clan equivalent penalty of 2. I don't think I've ever messed with that before because I've never really been playing in the clan era yet. But it's nice to have this fast and quick rule here, and that makes sense. It's a little bit harder to actually acquire the clan stuff, even after you're able to start acquiring it. And the delivery time of 2d6 days with a reduction of 1 for each number beyond the roll needed, and a minimum of 1 day. Now, the minimum of 1 day I did, but the rest of the stuff I usually had, instead of like 2d6 days, I have 3d6 weeks, then minus 1 week. So that's a very significant reduction in time, which I do I may change this. You know, those of you, my Lance commanders, if you want me to change the acquisition down to here, I'm open to your feedback. But for right now, I'm just wanting to kind of leave it as it is because that's just what we've been rolling with so far. Now let's go ahead and go up here to the maintenance checks. And the way, and I do, this is something I'm probably am going to change. Basically, we can do it one of 2 ways. We can either not do the maintenance checks, and if we do, you turn on the error mod rules, where depending on your error, it becomes harder. Like when we start our current error, it's like a +3 modifier, just straight up because of the year we're playing in. And alternatively, what he recommends, and I really do like this, you don't use the error mods. You do make your maintenance checks. Maintenance cycle is every 30 days. Maintenance modifier of 0 as opposed to like the -2 I think we currently have. And you don't use the quality modifiers for the maintenance rule. I don't use that anyway. And then the optional rule that I was really excited about of only damaging the part if it's already a quality level A. What this will end up doing is when we're actually in the repair bay doing repairs, it's actually going to be easier to repair stuff until it starts to, the quality part starts to degrade. And it's also, but the maintenance checks, it's not going to degrade as quickly because the maintenance checks are basically twice as long as what I currently have it set. So I am probably going to change this for the Let's Play with FWLM, and that's probably also what I'm going to be using for the Stingray campaign. Because I do like the idea of actually doing the maintenance rules. It's just, I've been searching for a point where it feels right. Because it was before, just never felt right. Even now, it's kind of, honestly, just the error mods, adding a +3 to all my rolls is really irritating with the repair rolls I'm doing currently. So, this at the end of the day, we're looking for fun. While it may be more realistic, oh yeah, on this error, it's harder to fix stuff because people don't know how. It's not very much fun. As you will see in the next Let's Play with the FWLM video. Let's see. Next rule changed in contract recruitment role. Now I looked for that. I didn't really see what he changed. Let me go back up here and just take a quick glance over it again. But I didn't really see anything. Here we go, recruitment roles. Excuse me, I'm just reading here real quick, just skimming it over. I think it must be a minor rule change, because this isn't different. The paid rules you can't do in a contract, which is something I overlooked back when we, earlier in the FWLM series. Pilot skill roll. It may just have changed some of these numbers up a little bit. I don't know what's changed really. The infantry rules are back. They are back, but they have changed a little bit, and I actually really do like the change. Because always before as long as you had infantry, you could just have tons of infantry doing all these stuff. It's basically he's removed, and I'd have to go back at the rules to even find what it is he removed exactly. I'm looking at it right now, aren't I? Okay, yeah. Okay. I remember there was 5 options. I don't know what he changed here. As a matter of fact, this option wasn't even available before. Actually, 2 of these. Since I'm thinking about it, let me go ahead and pull up the old rules, and we can just do a side-by-side comparison. Because it's really going to bug me until I read it. Campaign system. We're going to go all the way down to... these are the old rules. The old rules. Infantry rules. Okay. So we have patrol, field drop. So they don't have a field drop. The defense is the new guard. Our rescue is now search and rescue. Training. See, then they don't have training anymore. And I think they renamed... This patrol does something different for each platoon. Yeah, they completely changed this, which I do like. I like this change a lot. The scout patrol now, because always usually this is how I got that weird coolant truck on a mission, or just some random vehicle that doesn't really make sense. That a scout platoon is just basically coercing civilians to come fight for us. Instead, what it does is if you have somebody on a scout patrol. He rolls a 1d6 every week, and on a 6, I can ignore 1 battle on the week, and it's considered a victory. So if there's a battle I just really don't want to do, and I roll a 6, and I got somebody on a scout patrol, and I roll a 6, we can just call it good. I like that change. It makes a lot more sense than this, and it's not a guarantee. That's another thing I like about it. It's not a guarantee. That's what. 1 in 6 chance. What is that percentage? 18% or something like that. I should know that, but I don't know it. Field drop. Field drop was when you're attacking. That's gone. The defense is now guard, and basically, if you have somebody on guard duty, any defensive mission you play, you can add these infantry units in to aid you, as opposed to having to. There's a rule up here where the infantry, a foot infantry, can only be deployed in a defensive battle. Or with defensive lance, I'm sorry. So what this does is it lets you actually have these guys in a defensive battle join any lance, even if it's not a defensive lance. So that's changes with this one. It's similar to what this is here, but the rescue doesn't look like it's changed at all. Other than this penalty here, where basically he just has a once per week dead mech warriors instead wounded. It doesn't have the penalty to gunnery and piloting. And then down here where we got salvage and loot, basically if I put somebody on salvage loot, I can get a bonus roll, which is somewhere else, and it just basically gives you a random goodness. It's going to depend on an extra part, stuff like that. So every week you'll roll, and if you roll a 6, you get that bonus roll. If you roll a 1, you lose the platoon. I like that. It's kind of like a little gamble you play with your infantry. So overall, I really like these changes. It's not something that like guarantees some kind of wonkiness. Other than this, still feels a little cheaty, but 5 hits, especially when you're using the Dylan Advanced Medical Rules, can be significant. This just because he survives doesn't mean that he's going to get away scot. He or she is going to get away scot-free. So that's the new rules. Let me go ahead and skip down here to the fatigue rules, and it's really simple here. As every month, depending on what you're doing, you'll get a fatigue point or lose fatigue points. So when you're like constantly doing contracts that are hard, like raids, a planetary assault, your unit will just build up fatigue over time. And what this fatigue does is it doesn't really do anything in combat, but when it comes time to see if people retire or quit, or just want to move on, it gives them a penalty to that, because they're having a hard time and they might be more apt to leave. And it's really only relevant if you're using the defection rules or the retirement rules. So this is another thing where I'm undecided as to whether or not I want to use this. Either case, we're obviously not going to use the FWLM because I'm not even bothering with the retirement rules. However, on the Stingrays, I am going to use the retirement rules. However, I don't know if I want to use this or not, because I don't know. It just seems like a little bit busy. It's almost like something I would want to have a little bit more automated, and I don't feel like these numbers are useful numbers. I think there needs to be a little bit more playtesting and tweaking on the actual fatigue number. But what it is right now, for every 10 you get, it doesn't really say if it rounds up or round down. It'd probably just be up to me. But I would probably say it has to be every full 10 you get this -1 to the recruitment defection. We'll see as we get closer to time to do the Stingrays. But for FWLM, we're not going to mess with this. But it's a new rule, kind of cool. It's kind of a new concept. I do like the idea. I just think it needs a little bit more tweaking. I'm going to go ahead and get that out of my way. Now I skipped over the prisoner capture. Now this is something we were kind of going over, and I didn't know what to do. So when I hear hello and behold, MekHQ has actually added in the prisoner rules. Basically, it's kind of a re-adding. I don't know. I've never saw the original rules, so I don't know how different this is. And as it turns out, what I was doing is kind of what you're supposed to do. The base of prisoner, when you get a prisoner, it goes over rules on how you capture them. Basically, I just let MekHQ handle all that. But these are the numbers when you're ransoming. If they're a mech warrior or an aerospace pilot, elite ones you get 150,000 ransom back, or 75, and so on and so forth. You got 25,000, 10,000. If they're vehicle infantry or any other unit, it's 50,000, 25, 10, and 5,000 per person. Now the defection rules is basically a roll. But looking at these numbers, we would never have gotten those elite gunners. But you roll, excuse me, you roll to see if they want to join you or not, and it's modified by your rating, your Dragoon rating. So if you have a low Dragoon rating, your roll is at -2. So if it's a -2, the most you could ever get is a 10+. So an elite would never have it. I don't know what our rating is on FWLM, mainly because I think I have the Dragoon rating turned off. I might turn it on just because out of curiosity. But if you're an A rating unit, they're more apt to try to join you. So in this case, you would have, instead of having 11+, you would have to get a 9+ to get an elite guy, or a 6+, or a green guy, or so on and so forth. And you roll for each one, and here it also says the clans, you get a +2 bonus to your roll. So if you're a class A rating and you're trying to get an elite clan guy, you would have to get 7+ to have him join you, which is huge. Now there's additional rules for the bondsman stuff, but that isn't really a new thing. That's just something we'll deal with later. Now there's rules here for permanent injuries. I don't know if he wrote that down. Yeah, there he did. I don't know that I necessarily like it. This is extremely expensive. but there are rules on actually healing a permanent injury. That might be more useful in the Stingray campaign, and the reason I'm kind of separating them out and actually having different rules is the Free Worlds League Militia. I'm just throwing together a campaign, kind of have some continuity, have reoccurring units, having missions and so forth. But I mainly just want to have fun. I just want to set up the battles and let us have fun. Playing Stompy robots. The Stingrays, I'm wanting to actually be more story focused. You'll notice in FWLM, I'm not really doing the grand openings to the battles and so forth. The little short movies and so forth. I'll be doing that with the Stingrays. Because I want it to have a little bit more of a story focus. I want to care more about the characters. So, and then in that instance, if one of the founders has a permanent injury, I would be more apt to explore this option. But for the FWM, probably not, because it gets really expensive. You have to spend $100,000 every month just to see if you find a cure, and once you find a cure, it will cost 2d6 times 100,000 C-bills to try to do the cure. And even then, on a 2, you roll 1d6. On a 2, it doesn't work, and on 1, the guy dies, and you still lose out all that money. And there's also a bonus here if you're on Terra or Canopus 4. I don't know what's so important about Canopus 4. I'll have to look that up one of these days, but not right now. Changes in the deployment of reinforcements. That kind of goes over in all the battles. He basically wants the. We'll kind of go over that when we get to the individual battles, and in the most part, we're not even going to have to deal with that until I upgraded experimental to a build that actually uses the new 2.3 rules. So this is kind of a minor thing. It is useful. It's actually needed for balance. It's not a bad change at all, but it's kind of really getting into the nitpicky, and I've actually been kind of rambling on long enough now. I'm kind of want to get going here. He did change the chase battle completely, and the biggest change here, and I want to see how this plays out before I really cast judgment on it, is units enter the field at 6 minus their walking speed, or is it 8? It might be 8. Let's go ahead and look. Let's go ahead and just go look at it real quick, because now I am kind of forgetting the actual wording. Chase. Attack. Here you go. Both attacker and defender start to the south edge. All units deploy at 12 minus their walking speed, minus 1 if the unit has a jump jet. So, roll twice. So what this really is going to have happen is, in a chase scenario, both the attacker and defenders are going to stagger onto the field over time. It's not going to be all at once and then all the run. But there's additionally here the reinforcements, I guess, show up at the north edge. So that's one of the changes to where the reinforcements show up. Very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how those change, because we've done 2 chase scenarios. And new turret rules for base attacks, which is right here actually. Which is basically, he changed a lot on this base attack on what you need to do, and part of it is there's going to be turrets on the field now which you have to take out. It's considered part of the base assets. And the base attacks is something we've not done yet on either of my campaigns, but they're a big deal. If you are the attacker, this is how you win a scenario early. If you are the defender, this is how you instantly lose a scenario if you lose. So this becomes a very big deal. These are very big battles, and they will be much ballyhooed once we actually get to them. Now, there was something else that changed I wanted to take a quick look at. There's actually a bit of, like here, this is kind of confusing to me. He goes over like the ranks, the maximum ranks of the mercenary, and it's colonel. You always hear like the colonels, Colonel, Grace and Death, and so forth. But he's got the colonel commanding a battalion. That doesn't sound right to me. He has like a captain as a lance. To me, it's always been a lieutenant and lance, a captain at company level, which is why we have Captain Marlowe and so forth. And once you get to battalion, then it's major, then regimental, it's colonel, and then like general, it'd be multiple regiments. Although, like I said, in mercenary companies, you never really get into that. This is strange. I'm going to actually ask about that, but that doesn't seem right to me. However, if it is right, if it's lore based, let me know. I am kind of curious about that. That kind of jumped out at me as something I was wanting answers on. The share system, nothing really changed here. The share system is something we're going to use on Stingrays. We're not really dealing with a whole lot with like the shares or defection with the FWLM. So a lot of this stuff is I'm going to really just go over more in depth once we actually get started with Stingrays again. So that is all of the big notes here. There's like you got the noble battles here. Nothing's changed here. This is something I am very interested in trying out a little bit more. I've tried to do stuff off camera, just messing around with this. I've kind of want to do a noble campaign on camera. I'm still undecided on that. Mainly because I'm wanting to see there's been some I've proposed like some rules to him on this noble stuff that he seemed receptive to, and I'm interested to see if maybe he adds it in for the next release. So for the immediate future, I'm probably not going to do the noble thing, but maybe in 3.1 I will, and in 3.1 I will go back and do another patch notes thing. But until then, see, I got one more video for the FWLM going, and this is before the changes, and then I do have I say one, I might split that into two. I don't know how long they run. I try to aim for 20 minutes. So it'll be one or two more videos, and of course then this video is going to come out. Well, you're watching it now, but this kind of in between here, I've got some footage already recorded. I've got one battle coming up with Kitty Smasher. I told Ram that I had a battle on. I was wrong. It was Kitty Smasher that has a battle coming up, which you probably don't know. Who's Kitty Smasher? He isn't one of the 3 lances. That's coming up. We get a 4th lance. I do some rearranging, so you get to look forward to that, and we'll see you then.